Now, I'm curious on your thoughts on this one. Tinkoff Bank, I love, is a great example because they were a disruptor in the banking sector, right? In terms of the way they did fees. But I love how at one of these tech talks, the founder was talking on about it's a kind of crazy world we're in now with valuation of businesses, because you take him, they're a disruptor, but they've got actual locations, in other words, physical premises and buildings they own, even though they're still a digital business. They do make a profit, and they've got a valuation, and I'm kind of plucking a figure, but I think from memory from the research, about 3.5 billion or whatever, something like this, right? But then he goes, then you look at all these other companies that are innovators and disruptors, they have no assets, they own nothing, they actually don't even have a product, no experience, no credibility. They're not even making a profit. So that's the big one. They're not turning a profit, yet their valuation is the same or higher, right? They're valued the same or higher. And you think about, you can relate to that a little bit. It reminds me of the dot-com boom, right? Because people are projecting, it's this future perception of what's going to take off. The internet, the dot-com boom, and all of a sudden this implosion where it started coming down. And I think to some degree, we're still in that space, right? I'm sure you would see this more than I would in the field you play, but how do we make sure that we're not buying in to businesses that are being vastly overvalued, right? Elizabeth Holmes was a classic example. If you've seen the Out for Blood, right? And that whole thing, that was cover of Forbes, valued at billions, and then, but it's all based on science that doesn't work. It's not working. Oops, back to zero we go, right? So how do we make sure we're not overvaluing a tech, an app, a business? What are you seeing in that space?
Yeah, so the overvaluations are endemic, right? They're endemic. And the reason that they're endemic is because we have examples which did succeed, where businesses were building out a long-term infrastructure that would be profitable in the future, okay? And Amazon's a classic example. Facebook was an example. And these businesses that are being built out are those that have what we call a natural network effect. So a network effect, I'll explain that to people, is where a network effect is where a business gets better with every user that gets added. So Facebook is better the more people that are on it, because the more people are on it, the more value it has, and you want everyone in the same place. It's like a country speaking a certain language. Mm-hmm. It's important that everyone speaks the same language, because then we can all have that. Certain businesses have that dynamic. What is falsely happening is people are believing that a lot of industries and businesses have natural network effects that don't, because they're waiting for that big play later on where it'll be worth a lot of money. But the majority of web businesses don't have natural network effects. I'll give you an example. Uber. Mm-hmm. Uber has never made a profit, and I say it will never make a profit. It actually loses $10 for every $30 it brings in. Right? Its share price is down 30% since it float. It will never make a profit because it's not sustainable. The prices that they pay and the promotion and the wages they pay, that's not sustainable. It'll be outlawed in a lot of countries. But in addition to that, there's no natural network effect. I don't care if I'm in an Uber car or a DD or an Ola. I don't care. What do I care? I just press a button. Who's going to come to me? There's no natural network effect. Mm-hmm. And taking 30% off the drivers, it's only a matter of time before someone goes, I'm building a new Uber for Australia where we just take 1% of developed software.
It becomes about the price you're taking out, and it's so
we need to think about it and say, okay, they're growing a tree. Will this tree have fruit in the long run, or will it not? Because a lot of it is just timber, right? Mm-hmm. And that's what they're just building these big trees. It's like, mate, if there won't be fruit, then don't invest. And here's my advice. It's a really, really bad bet to bet on any of these businesses that have exponential returns, because 99 out of 100 won't. So probabilistically, don't do it. It's not worth doing. I invest in technology just to understand it, not to get a return on investment, because it's a really bad bet, right? You're better off buying the entire share market, because the top 5 companies since COVID have had a 1.8 trillion market cap increase. Mm-hmm. And the bottom 495 companies, the non-tech companies, went down by that amount.
Okay. So what you're describing, it makes me think, you're describing what you did again to some degree, which is spend time in the diligence to look at the real nature of the business model and not buy into the hyperbole, right?
Users are irrelevant. The question is there going to be a sustainable business model where more money will be made than is expended? And in a lot of those businesses, there's an Australian business called Culture Round. And all they are is color-coded spreadsheets where they see what the vibe is in the company, and they sold it into Facebook and other companies or whatever. It's valued at over $1 billion, mate. It's the greatest hoax of all time. Sorry, culture and people. I love you. You're wonderful people. But I'm sorry, mate. I'm just not buying into it. Look, we need to be students of business, all right? And if we have to call it out, then let's bloody call it out.